If I had already conquered the world and I had a lot more time on my hands, chances are I would probably watch a Chris Pratt film or a television show like The Terminal List. It kind of seems like it's right up my alley. I grew up in the time when a whole bunch of different B-level action flicks were out there, and they got a little soft spot in my heart for that type of entertainment. But being who I am and how busy I keep myself, there's no way in hell I'm going to be watching any of this crap, okay? I don't even have well, outside of the fact that I have Prime, de facto I would have Prime Video, so theoretically I'd have access to watch it, but I'm not watching any television shows right now. That's just a big waste of time, okay? And you guys should be doing the exact same thing. But Game recognizes Game, and Chris Pratt, really, if media wasn't so woke and terrible, at least Western media. I know Asians are off there killing it with their manga stuff, and even just like South Korean cinema is really killing it when it comes to putting out good high quality content. But Chris Pratt should be a bigger star than he is. I already know that he's a star, okay? Like, he's not, like the other Chris that's associated with some Marvel films, okay? One that I like to kick around every time or two because he just has such dumb goddamn takes. And Chris Evans, I just about forgot his name. Jesus, I knew it was Chris, and it was like Bitch Boy. I can't quite remember. Can't keep any of that stuff straight. He's not a movie star. He's Captain America. Chris Pratt, on the other hand, he has a whole host of different roles that he's associated with, okay? Like, I know he's the leader of the Guardians of the Galaxy. I haven't watched any of the films. I don't know the name of his character, but I know that, yeah, he's the leader of the Guardians of the Galaxy, and that's a big film. It made over $1 billion. I think both of them did, but regardless, okay? And he's also found a little niche for himself, being at the forefront of these non-political action films and television shows, especially when it comes to Amazon, because what was the other one? Came out earlier this year, the Tomorrow War, I think that's what it was. I can't remember. Honestly, I try. I like Chris Pratt. I just don't really care about modern media, okay? And then The Terminal List, I hear good things about it. I hear that it's just, a lot of bangy, shooty explosion shit, and people are kind of just generally liking it. Not the shitty, stupid, awful critics, because once again, yes, we got our friends over there at Rotten Tomatoes. As you can see, this is always just the hallmark of something that's probably worth your guys' time, especially if you're coming to my channel and you respect my takes on things, okay? You see the audience and the critics split like this. 40% of the critics think that it's worth your time, and 94% over on the audience side, the people who have actually watched it, what their opinion of it is. They have a pretty high opinion of it. Let's think. All things considered, 94%, okay, 94% of respondents think that, yeah, it's worth your time. Would rate it over, I think the way that Rotten Tomatoes does it, over 60%, however they want to break it down, like depending on your scale, okay? 3 out of 5 or higher if you're running a 5-point scale, but let's just see some of the top critic responses over here on Rotten Tomatoes. Let's just see. Maybe I've totally missed the mark when it comes to this show here, okay? Because first and all, oh, you got Newsday right there. Okay, you give it 75%, 3 out of 4, okay? In the days before the streaming revolution, The Terminal List would have been turned into a big screen summer action blockbuster and over and done with within about 2 hours. Instead, audiences are being asked to stick with it for hours of binging. He must have just made up that word. He looks like a guy who makes up a lot of words, mostly used to entice small children to come into his panel van. It's like, here's some candy. We can all binging together. Whatever. And then you got Rebecca Onion from Slate. Oh boy, this is going to be terrible.
The Terminal List is a classic American fantasy about the goodness of the SEALs, of the corruption of high-level government officials and corporate shills, and the purifying qualities of righteous violence.
I know you're trying to write that as a condemnation of the show, but I see that as just, something I would be interested if the time was right. And then, okay, yeah, Empire Magazine. If you enjoyed Jack Ryan and Reacher, then this show, is the show the algorithm would say you should watch next. Ignore it. I heard nothing but good things about Reacher, by the way, so Ollie Richards. I'm sure you'll probably extol the virtues of cuties and all that other fine stuff, but It's not so much. I'm not doing a review of The Terminal List, obviously. Like I said, I haven't watched the thing, okay? I just like Chris Pratt. I don't know if I've written about him before or if I've done a dedicated video on him, but he's just basically like a Christian conservative guy who likes to keep politics out of everything that he does, and he just knocks it out of the park whenever he is put into a role, okay? He just seems like a down-to-earth guy. Nobody really who works with him has anything bad to say about him, okay? It's just the critics and the more politically inclined types that just want to tear him down because, I don't know, he's just a guy with some kids and a happy family, and yeah, he's outwardly Christian. Not like preaching in public or anything like that. It's just he didn't attend this stupid Marvel Stars fundraiser for Democrats back in 2020, so everybody thought he was basically Hitler at that time. That, and I think like Robert Downey Jr. didn't attend that as well, but again, he's one of those old school legacy types who are just based out of his tree. I think that's who didn't attend. It was some other big name, and Chris Pratt as well. And it's like, what isn't he doing kowtowing to us? Now we must try to ruin his life. But then when people watch the stuff that he actually puts out, and then they support it, and then it's like, oh, drat, we actually don't have that much power outside of just the confines of Twitter. Chris Pratt ripped into trolls on review site Rotten Tomatoes regarding his newest Amazon Prime show, The Terminal List, the Marvel actors. And again, I like to differentiate that, okay? You just do the obvious comparison, okay? Chris Pratt and Chris Evans, okay? Marvel actor, yeah, Chris Pratt has been in Marvel films, but he's also been successful in other roles as well, okay? Like, before and after taking his most famous role in Guardians of the Galaxy, and then the Avengers films and all those team-up gimmicks and everything as well. And then you take a look at Chris Evans, it's Captain America. And Lightyear was really well received. That I think it's called The Gray Man. Everybody hates it, and it's over on Netflix. So again, you can even just do a one-to-one comparison. Lead role in your own Netflix streaming show, nobody likes it. Lead role in an Amazon Prime streaming show, and audiences love it. I wonder what the audience... Let's just do that, okay? Let's just do the audience reception for The Gray Man. I think it's The Gray Man. Oh, my mistake. It was a movie. I thought it was just a streaming show. But yeah, no. The Russo brothers, they wrote some of those Avengers films. So again, Chris Evans only getting work by the people that he knows and not really branching out any further. But anyway, still, yeah, it's not even that being that well received outside of like a Cincinnati, Ohio local affiliate. If you like a James Bond film and a Jason Bourne film, and then you threw in some John Wick, that just sounds like a whole bunch of fucking nonsense. Okay, what types of James Bond films are we talking about? The one good one, or I guess the 1.5 good ones? I got the poster back there, so I guess I gotta fucking big up that one for a second. And I do like Skyfall, let's be completely honest. But are you talking Casino Royale and Skyfall, or are you talking about some of those older films? But of course you aren't, because these type of reviewers don't even know that there was a James Bond before Daniel Craig. So are we looking at like Spectre and Quantum of Solace type of James Bond films? Even though Jason Bourne kind of heavily influenced that, the Daniel Craig era of James Bond. But anyways, still, okay, so it's all of those things except for its own movie. How adorable. Or it's a $200 million snooze fest by Larushka Ivanzadeh. Make an easier name, okay. Oh, let's see. Robert Levin. Okay, this guy just doesn't like anything. All that effort. Oh, no, didn't he? No, he did like The Terminal List. Okay. But he didn't like The Gray Man. So, okay, this guy's really hard to pin down. All that effort and all that money should have paid for a better screenplay. Oh, okay, so it's written like dog shit. But, hey, man, good to know. Long and short of it is, Chris Evans doesn't have a career outside of being Captain America. But I didn't intend on making this a big dig at Chris Evans' lack of a career. This was supposed to be about Chris Pratt and his ability to just shit on the haters. But yes, as we just went through, it was certified as rotten on the website with a 94% audience score, 40% critic score. Streaming show follows Pratt as a Navy SEAL, James Reese. This sounds like an 80s film, okay? Be completely honest, okay? Military man, former police officer, okay, named generic white guy name, okay, because what was, even Commando, right, for Arnold Schwarzenegger, what's your name? It's John Matrix. And it's like, okay, cool, basic name. There's nothing wrong with that, okay, just keep it simple instead of just having to have a bunch of consonants and harsh vowels in there as well. Just keep it simple, okay, just heavy on action. light on dialogue. That's totally fine sometimes. Not everything has to be this big introspective character piece. Oh, who comes home after his crew is ambushed while on a secret mission. Alright, so Pratt, 43, took to his Instagram stories to blast the naysayers. Good for him. Good for him. Touting how the show has been widely watched despite the rating. And, yes, using a Dr. Evil meme. And again, the last decade that movies were actually funny, okay? I draw the line of demarcation right at about those Judd Apatow fucking 40-year-old virgin films. Those have aged like bread. Meanwhile, Austin Powers, Wayne's World, Dumb and Dumber, the Adam Sandler host of films, Happy Gilmore, Billy Madison, all the way up till and including Big Daddy at the turn of the century. Those films are still hilarious. Fuck you, it's not nostalgia. Those are just hilarious films. Still quotable to this day. That's why, yeah, case in point, Chris Pratt using a Dr. Evil meme from, I don't know necessarily which one that is. That's probably from the first one. That came out, Austin Powers, the International Man of Mystery. I got it over there somewhere. I got a DVD copy of all three of those. And the less said about the third one, the better. But the first one, I think, came out in 96 or 98. They are still getting quoted. Who even runs back anything from Knocked Up? No, exactly. I bet you even forgot that film came out. But yes, like he said, it's 1.6 billion minutes. That's how long people have wasted, let's be completely honest, watching this show as compared to, I don't know, what show out there is a darling of the critics? Umbrella Academy. I think Westworld's still on the air. That's pretty much fucking dog shit, but people like it because women are in charge. Cool. One post, he posted an article with a headline, Chris Pratt's new Navy thriller, The Terminal List, defies woke critics' scathing reviews to shoot up the charts with 1.6 billion minutes of streams. Good for him. And good for everybody involved on that one. So that just really means that there's going to be another season of that. And if people enjoy it and it's well written, or at least it has good action without any of the politics on top of it, if it pushes back even just a little bit on everything else that comes out in the media, like even against the next big release from Amazon that's coming out, that Lord of the Rings soap opera, and oh boy, if I cared even an ounce about that stuff, like I watched the Lord of the Rings films, they're fine and all that stuff. Again, all of the big films that a lot of people have a bunch of fandom around, I don't really care that much about. Star Wars, yeah, I watched all of them once, except for the 3 new ones from Disney. I didn't care about that shit, and I was already done with movies at that point. They're fine. Probably the one that I'm the biggest fan of that most people generally accept as being really good is the Dark Knight trilogy. Yeah, I like them, okay? I wouldn't turn it off if it was on, and yeah, the less said about the third one, the better. Mostly like a bunch of other trilogies, but still, I'm just gonna have fun time just poking holes in all of the different blue pill nonsense that's going to come out in that series. It's only supposed to be like 8 or 9 episodes, but it just looks catastrophically bad with all of the women that they're going to have fighting and leading armies, even though that there's source material that it's directly contradicting in the fact that that shit didn't happen and that those people weren't involved in any of the battles. It's going to be hilarious, and I'm sure because all of the correct boxes are ticked, the critics are going to love it, but the audience is either going to like it because it looks pretty-ish, or it's just hearkening back to Lord of the Rings and remember the early 2000s. It was fun when it was in the movies. People might like it. I'm not entirely sure how it's going to be received, but, you know, the people that are investing in this type of shit are just clawing and waiting to hate it, and I'll just laugh at it if it's fucking bad, because I have no vested interest in it anyways, okay? I don't know anybody who's going to be in it. I don't recognize anybody in it, and it's telling a story I don't really give that much of a fuck about. It's just media is so bad these days, and might as well kick the retarded kid while he's down, so. Anyways, in another post, the Everwood star, what's that? Is that another thing that Chris Pratt's done? He's done a lot of things. People like him for it. Plastered a photo of Dr. Evil from the Austin Powers franchise. Thanks for clarifying that. Okay. And noted the number of times viewers watched the show. 1.6 billion minutes. He scribed on the meme. Yeah, we know. That's how memes work. Nielsen reported that at least 1.6 billion 60-second moments. Is that okay? Did you have like a word limit in order to write up this article or something where you had to find a way to not say 1.6 billion minutes again? If you really just wanted to break out a calculator, you could have just broken it down to hours. I'll just round it off nicely. It's 26.5 million hours collectively that have been consumed by audiences out there, which means that, hey, a lot of people are liking it, or at least a lot of people are giving it a try. Not really seeing what the ratings consistently throughout the entirety of the series are. Don't know how many episodes there are, or if people are just watching it for a little bit and then ducking out when the times are rising that something better comes on the horizon. But because of the amount of time that's being allocated to this property, one can surmise people are liking it and at least going through the entirety of the show, or at least a sizable chunk of it. The mystery thriller, which is based on the novel by Jack Carr, was released July 1st, and also stars Constance Wu, J.D. Prado, Taylor Kitsch, Riley Coe, Arlo Mertz, and Jeanne Triplehorn. I know the name Triplehorn, but that's not the one that I would know. If you guys know those names, there you go. Those are the people that are in the show. Mayans MC star Prado, who also plays FBI agent Taylor Leone, told the Post he challenged himself by being immersed in the world of ex-Navy SEALs. You'll like to see that. I don't know who this guy is. I'm sure he's great and all that stuff. But again, somebody who takes his role seriously. Somebody who knows the role that he's going to be in and then decided to do some background work on it so that he would properly portray it on the screen. As opposed to how you see it, you even hear from the writer's room when it comes to some of those big productions that are out there, specifically Marvel films or comic book adaptations. We have no idea what the character's all about. We know that Batman is Bruce Wayne, and then outside of that, nothing. You have no idea about any of the storylines out there. You'd say Robin, they'd be like, yeah, I really like her contributions on the Howard Stern show. They have no idea outside of just really basic facts. And that's why most of the stuff out there really lands with an absolute fucking thud. So big ups to Tony for actually taking this shit seriously. It's a great story by Jack Carr, a great book series, and it's just an all-star cast. Chris, Constance Wu, Taylor Kitsch, and it goes on. Said Brado, I really wanted to be a part of that because it's inspiring to work with that kind of talent, and we had a lot of fun on the set. And that's all you hear when it comes to Chris Pratt. Like, he's just a hell of a good time, and that's something that is very rare in Hollywood because he's a man of a certain acumen. He's acquired a certain amount of clout, and once you start to reach that high level, it can go either way. Like, nobody ever has a bad thing to say about Johnny Depp. Okay, Tom Cruise is in that area as well, but then you get more prickly stars that are out there, which no names immediately come to mind, but you hear that a lot of people are divas every once in a while. Most famous case is obviously Chevy Chase, but I'm trying not to be as old with my references, but you know, it works because people know that one. That shit is universal when it comes to Chris Pratt. People like him, and that's why the general social media audience doesn't like him, because he's a successful actor and he just so happens to be a straight white male, and that's what pisses him off more than anything else. Just racism, really. The show's official Instagram account divulged last month that it was the #1 TV series on Amazon Prime over the 4th of July weekend. Oh man, patriotism, and again, another thing that would have triggered the mob that's out there. Daily Beast called the Terminal List. Oh, the Daily Beast. Is the editor-in-chief still the head of that pedo ring, the Lincoln Project? What's his name? Rick the Garden Gnome Wilson? I think that's who it is, right? An unhinged right-wing revenge fantasy and a wet dream for militia-minded anti-establishment kooks. Sounds great, actually. Thanks for your recommendation. The series is an alpha male cry for help, according to RogerEbert.com. Oh yes, being puppeted by that inconsistent reviewer. Showcases jingoism at its finest and absolute worst. Oh, I'm getting a little bricked up here in a second. And Slate.com. We already read that one, so fuck her. Don't need to give that fucking, what's her name, Onion or something? That's also doubles as what her box smells like. Continue to succeed, Chris, and continue to dunk on the haters, because that's the only way that they're going to fucking learn, okay? But just, yeah, again, feel free to start running back some old school memes. May I suggest using Fat Bastard next time, and then somebody going, is this you? With all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.